to what I'm used to. So it's going to be, hoping it's going to be a good early day tomorrow.
And if it all unfolds perfectly, we've got great weather, we've got great pacemakers. Is the win and the world record the ideal way to sign off a season like this?
I mean, it's definitely there, but no, I'm not prepared at all for this. It's just a bonus and something that I've decided to challenge myself. I like to, I like the challenge, and that's how I usually, approach things on the track, is to do my best and also to test myself to see what I'm capable of. So I think we're going to get that tomorrow.
And do you regard this as a one-off, or are you permanently going to move onto the roads and mix things around a bit?
I'm hoping it's. I usually do a race on the road every now and then. I'm hoping this can at least get me to 2 more years on the track before I need to do another one.
Hold fire. We are about to get going here at the Copenhagen Marathon. Away they go then. 21.1 kilometers ahead of them. Really, the only thing to aim for all these athletes is, they're not going to do a 5,000 or 10,000 on the track. You just have to focus on the half marathon.
Starting on the right-hand side of the screen, she is the Danish national record holder. That is Sarah Skue Christensen, and next to her, Caroline Grovdal, as you say, the Rome European champion this year over the half marathon distance. And then next to her, the 22-year-old Kenyan Catherine Amagol, the world bronze medalist in the World Running Championships last year. And then the compatriot next to her, Margaret Kit-Kemboy, silver medalist from the World Championship Half Marathon in 2023. So such a strong women's field, chasing that course record of 65.08. And then the Danish national champion multiple times, Jacob Sommer Samuelsen. He's a very consistent runner. Sebastian Sare is the athlete to look out for, world champion in 2023. And Jacob Kiplimo, the Ugandan, 23 years of age, the world record holder. And he's such a quality road performer. So next to him, a man that almost needs no introduction. So many titles. He was winning senior titles when he was still a junior in Europe. Already 2 world titles himself as a senior. Olympic 1500 meter champion in 2021 over the shorter distance. 5,000 meter champion in Paris. A recent 3,000 meter world record, Matt. And now making his half marathon debut in Copenhagen.
A clash of the ages, 2 men in their complete prime. 27,000 runners will pile in behind them and follow them around the streets of Copenhagen. Dare we dream of a world record here today? We are moments away. 15-second countdown, a few numbers to remember. 58.01 the course record, the world record 57.31. This is the Copenhagen Half Marathon, and we are moments away from history. Well, away they go then. The Copenhagen Half Marathon 2024. What a matchup we have. Kiplimo, Ingebrigtsen on the women's side as well. Kip Kemboy, Grovdal, and 27,000 other runners will follow them round here, James.
Yeah, the masses are out. The elites are out. We are chasing super fast times. We've got athletes that have won and broken records themselves. They're going to be at the front just as pacemakers. That's the quality that's needed in the early stages. but the masses themselves, that would be something very special for them to run in a world record race, wouldn't it? It's been done here before. Jeffrey Kamora running 58.01, which is the event record, Matt. So world records are possible on the streets of Copenhagen.
The excitement and the buzz in this city this morning, and even at 7 o'clock in the morning when we arrived around the start-finish area, there were people milling around. I think they wanted to get eyes on those elites who were transported to the start as well. But look at them all as they set on their journey, wave after wave and kilometre after kilometre. By the way, the pacing structure that we should probably mention, we've had a few, there's been discussions of 57 minutes even, but we feel today, this morning, it was decided 57.15, but they're going to go through 5 kilometres just outside 13.30, looking for around 27.15 at 10k. And can you believe it? This is track numbers really, James, 2:43 per kilometre.
Well, that's going to feel very comfortable for those that have just come from the track in the early stages, but they say the half marathon starts around the 8 miles. That's when you start to feel the pinch. And as Jeff said in the interviews early on, that Morten did as well, that Jakob was very clear that he only runs up to 20 kilometres in training. So there's going to be an unknown, and those that are seasoned half marathon runners will have run a few more kilometres than that in one-off runs as well. So it's going to be fascinating to see a difference in systems, different in training, but also coming at it from a slightly different angle of pre-races. Ed Cheserek hasn't raced in 2024, Matt, and he's the defending champion.
I know, it's hard to believe, isn't it, that Jakob, claiming he's never run over 20 kilometres, uncharted territory for him. I mean, you discussed about fueling as well with Philip just after the press conference yesterday, and they don't want to do anything different. There'll be no fuel taken on, and you won't even stop for a drink, I don't think. And when you talk about running under an hour, these guys can handle that. They don't need to worry about fueling, of course. For those a little bit further back who are going to be out on their feet for 90 minutes plus, they'll probably need to consider fueling. But these men up at the front, they won't be taking on anything.
Yeah, and then Philip on the right-hand side, just having a little look onto his left. He's going to help his brother in the early stages. But the field around, it's going to be interesting to see how many people go with this early pace, Matt.
Do you know what? That looked like the first kilometre that they just went through. We're going to get that on our screen shortly as well. And that was just outside 2:50. So we thought Jakob would certainly be someone who runs a little bit more controlled over these opening kilometres. And look, I'll break it down for you. And Kiplimo broke that world record as well. His opening 5k was about 13:40. He then chopped it down 13:25, and then, if the splits are correct, 13:02. Can you believe it? Between 10 and 15k. So Kiplimo is someone as well who wants to build into it and get faster and faster throughout the race. He did fade badly, by the way, for coming home in 14 minutes around that mark when he broke that world record a few years ago. Can you believe he was just 21 years of age at that time?
And there's the pacing balloons, as you mentioned. So the masses will be following those. They have a keen eye on making sure that they have their own pacemakers in the race, so they get the times that they've put their hard training in over the summer. It's never easy training for a half marathon over the summer, given summer holidays, given the rise in temperature. But I'm sure the taper over the last few weeks has been really appreciated. And yes, the beautiful conditions this morning and the slightly earlier start. So he talks about having bib number 2 in the press conference. Said he would have rather had bib number 1. And the fact that, he's got so used to being number 1. But yeah, there was that surprise, wasn't there? The bib that was put to the side with his age. And obviously, yeah, it was only really the last few days that this rumour came out. But even then, we were still thinking, will he or won't he do it?
He's just rewriting history, really, isn't he? And seeing what he can do today, it's what everyone is so fascinated about. Philip then is a man that we need to mention as well, who's, I think he's there as a little bit of comfort blanket for Jakob. And Jakob just enjoying being tucked in. He's probably one of the few men in this field who'll be used to quite, running in quite a tight-knit pack. You talk about how the track is different to the road. A lot of these men used to being out on their own. And Aragawi, James, we must mention, they roped him in, got him in here to pace. He too has had a quick turnaround.
The same Brussels flight, wasn't he? But apparently feeling a little bit jaded. I mean, again, those 5,000s in the Diamond League have been absolutely brutal this year. They've got, pretty close to the world record themselves. And, yeah, he's coming off a long season as well. Obviously, again, he'll be disappointed with the Olympic Games. And on his right, looks like Bernard Quebec the world record holder, the world best for 10 miles. So that's the quality of runners. He was also in that Paris 10,000 metre race as well. So that's the quality of pacers that have been brought in to pace today. Probably only a handful that could run at the pace that's needed.
Yeah, and Elijah Cheptiek, also of Uganda, working with Kiplimo, training partner again, often just providing a little bit of a comfort blanket for him. So we're well on our way. We're well through that 2 kilometre split, around about 5:45. So they have gone out a little bit cautiously, and you could tell because there's a rather large pack queuing up behind of men who are looking to break 60 minutes. We talk about how many can we get inside. 14, by the way, coming into this race, having broken 60 minutes already. If we can beat that record of 16, that would be something. So this is probably good for them. They're probably enjoying this, going, oh, this is brilliant. Can we hang on for as long as possible? You can see Hugo Hay, Ephraim Gide as well, just a little bit further back, hanging on to this front group. So Aragawa, you can see, just looking at his watch, just looking potentially to get things moving, and this is what he does. There's no better front runner than Aragawa, really.
Yeah, Aragawa is just a phenomenon on the track, but he's someone that also when he steps onto the road with his own career, he's going to run very fast, isn't he, for the half marathon?
Oh, he certainly is. He's and it's great to see him actually on the track, contesting. And what's he run? 7:21 over 3,000, 12:40 for 5,000, 26:31 this year, by the way, over the 10K as well. And of course, silver at the Olympic Games over 10,000 as well. His finishing kick is something that he's worked on in order to stay on the track for a little bit longer. And I think that's the difference between him and Kiplimo. You look at Kiplimo, who we mentioned before, awfully disappointed coming off the back of the Olympics, but boy, oh boy, is he strong. Dominant on the cross country, and well, he's the world record holder, and that proves how good he is on the road as well. Things certainly look to be just picking up here, James, as we're going to start to approach 3,000 metres.
Diego Curat, 2 other athletes in this lead group. But given the pace that it was talked about in the early stages, we expected to split a little bit earlier than this. As you say, this will play into the hands of those that are chasing that low 59 and those looking to break the magic 60 minutes. But you were telling me the other day it's over 200 athletes.
So over 250, wow. I think around about 270 men in history have broken 60 minutes. And I pitched the question to you. I said, what do we now deem as world class? And you look at the 10 fastest all times in the world ever from 2021 and beyond. So the levels of world class half marathon running, distance running, obviously it's moving along. And you think about the road records, and 27:07, by the way, the European 10K record Jimmy Gressier set earlier on this year, and we're beginning to wonder, could Jakob threaten that in the last half of this race? If he's going to run 57:30, he's going to be right in that realm. Yeah,
really interesting with road races. Been David Katz, who's one of the main bodies here in terms of making sure that records are ratified. The 5K wouldn't be eligible, and obviously the speed they would need to travel would not be possible. But 10 kilometres on this course could count as a world record now, and it would count as a European record as well. I think the early stages might put pay to that, but then also eligible for world best at 15K, 10 miles and 20 kilometres. So there are other records that could potentially fall today. And there's a great split screen on the right hand side. We've got the lead women, and it looks like there's a big pack of around about, I can see 6-7 in that lead group, with their male pacemakers making sure the early stages are towards that 5-minute mile in.
Absolutely. Kip Kemboi in there, Amangole as well, also of Kenya, just 21 years of age, so she's got youth on her side. 7th of those Kenyan Olympic trials early on in the year, so would have been a little bit disappointed to miss out on the Olympic Games on the track, but ferocious on the road. 65:39, her lifetime best. And again, can we see someone break that 65-minute mark? We talk about 60 on the men's side, 65 on the women's is a similar benchmark, when the world record now is down in the 62s. It's frightening.
Yeah, Margaret Kipkemboi had a good Paris Games. Obviously, she would have loved to have gone away with a medal, but again, she's someone that stepping on to the road from those games, that she knows she's got some good speed, and she's definitely capable of going inside 65 minutes. Sifena Sanu obviously had such a fantastic Olympic Games.
I'm surprised she's not here.
Marathon. She could have been running here, exactly. But probably with her feet up somewhere on a beach. having won that phenomenal Olympic Games marathon title after having run the 5 and the 10,000. So the way people are coming into races is changing. But again, the man on the screen there running 1,500 metres on Friday night. He talked about this being the second day of his vacation. So normally for a vacation, I think that would be sat on the beach, maybe where Savannah Hassan is, but not for Jakob. Jumping on a flight, coming to a city to run a half marathon. And he did talk about whether he might have some regrets en route, whether it might suddenly not become such a great idea. And I think the early kilometres will have definitely helped Matt. The fact that it's kind of settled down a bit, and surely 252s, 250s is going to feel fairly comfortable to a man that's run 7:17 for 3,000 metres. A record when Daniel Coleman ran 7:20. We thought that was a record that might never be broken, but yeah, that was some run, wasn't it?
It's certainly going to be interesting to see how he fares later on in this race. I mean, I've never seen him really under stress. I mean, I know he lost out on the past couple of World Championship 1500s and obviously Olympic Games 1500, but he is always there up front and he actually never looks in distress. And okay, he hasn't had that finishing close over the 1500, but over the 5000 stuff, he's been purely dominant. So how he responds to when things really get moving in this race, I think is going to be very interesting. And Kiplimo is a man who likes to throw it down. I mentioned that split, that terrific, low 13-minute split he ran when he broke the world record. But also, do you remember at the World Cross Country this year, the way he just goes to the front and he just hammers it. He waits for no one. And once he's got that gap, we know Jakob is a very measured performer, but will he be able to close it? They're the kind of questions we're asking ourselves.
And he does look supreme in that middle at the moment, Jacob Kiplimo. And talking about Jakob Ingebrigtsen, ever seeing him under pressure, stressed. Probably that World Cross Country Championships when he was still a junior, when we thought he might go up against the very, very best. And I think he ended up 15th that day. And that might have been in Aarhus. So that was the only time maybe that he's been really pressured in his junior or senior career. But today, again, he was talking out in the press conference that I don't think the half marathon scares him, just given the double threshold that's almost become the Norwegian training method that's now adopted by almost every distance runner around the world, that it kind of operating around this kind of pace. But he did say the last 2 months, specifically around running 1,500 metres, that's the unknown, whereas obviously a few months prior to that probably would have been in even better half marathon shape.
Now you can see he's just deciding to latch on the back of this group then. Philip, who is a man who was looking to sort of pace him, he's doing a good job considering his season's best of 13:30 for 5,000 this year, and he's had a bit of an up and down year to say the least. So he's looking pretty strong, Philip, and so Jakob just taking a bit of comfort with him in the group. Another man in here is Peter Eiler, 30 years of age. He's a sub-27 man over 10,000 metres on the road, and personal best, by the way, 60 from Barcelona half marathon. He's in this group. You can see him just latching on the back.
Yeah, defending champion also latching on the back, Ed Cesarek, multiple-time NCAA champion. Would have been slightly disappointed after winning here in that superb sprint finish to go to New York, and it's a tough course, New York, 2:11. There are some fast times running that course, but if you're not having a great day, it's a tough marathon. And he'll be coming back. I think he's doing Valencia half and then Valencia marathon. But it's going to be a tough order today for Cesarek to defend his title. But yes, that split there, Matt, they're through. They're 5 kilometres, 13:53, so much slower than anticipated.
Yeah, 58:20 pace, something around that tempo, predicted time. They're definitely not going to keep this pace. We can fully expect them to pick it up. However, they're right around that kind of just outside course record tempo at the moment of 58:01. Obviously, Canberra back in 2021 as well.
Yeah, and this might play into the hands of Jakob Ingebrigtsen, where it's a little bit more controlled early on, get a chance to find the rhythm of the race. And, the talk of that 13:30 first 5K, the fact that his brother, as you said, is able to pace him and run with him in these early stages. That Philip himself, a former European 1500-metre champion, and very accustomed to the distance of 5,000 metres. They're doing a good job at the moment. There's the lead women, and so there's Sorey in the centre, and it looks like there's a big contingent, isn't it? They've got a lot of the male athletes around them, so There's an England team, so some England vests as well thrown in there as well.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting around Zerai is 27 years of age, but fourth in Antrim just a few weeks ago. What was that, 3 weeks ago? 67.15 in pretty terrible,
horrible
conditions. Yeah. Antrim delivering on that front. We've got polar opposite here today. Perfect temperature, about 13 degrees, very light breeze, and you can see the sun just shining as well.
Well, it looks like they've passed 5 kilometres and they're inside 15:30. Yeah, there you go, 15:22. So that means that we're on course record pace, Matt. That's inside 5-minute miling.
It is indeed 15:22, so moving very, very well. And what's nice is they've got a nice pack, these women. They're going to have company late on, and this is what Jakob does best. He's keying off this, and this group has been whittled down. We've seen a lot of men who have dropped off. Either they've dispersed over the road, and the likes of Cesarek not able to live with this now with a PB of 59.11. It's probably now is the time in the race that you start to take stock a little bit, don't you? Just check in with yourself, and Jakob said that himself. He was going to just basically get the first few Ks done, see how he feels, and build from there.
Yeah, Aragaro on the left and Quebec on the right. Maybe the pacers have realised that they're just a little bit down on what they were asked to do, but I'm not sure, as I said, the group behind will mind too much, but it is splintered so fast here. We were a big group, wasn't it? About 30 athletes through that first 2 kilometres. And there you go, 6 kilometres, and you can see the graphics coming up with projected times. And that is kind of projecting a faster second 5 kilometres. But the time here, 13:53. So 15 seconds down, but as you said, the quality of the field. And that split, wasn't it, was very, very fast, wasn't it, for the third 5 kilometres. Almost too fast when Kiplimo set his world record. So maybe even paced and a build into the pace in this race could be far more beneficial.
Yeah, it seems to be the fashion, the way to run these distance races now, the half marathon. And talk about the Kelvin Kipton and what he was able to do over the marathon, the way he would throw down just from 25 to 30k or 30 to 35k, throw down a ridiculous 5k split to close hard as well. So Kiplimo very, very similar in that sense. And he went through that tunnel of noise, the sound echoing off the buildings here in Copenhagen. I could hear a lot of cries for Jakob. He's a fan favourite wherever he goes, and Kiplimo, almost a little bit of a polar opposite, a humble man, does his work in the shadows, almost in the hills of Uganda. Jakob here, forged by science, really, isn't he, and a rock star of the sport.
Yeah, fascinating. They've obviously come at it from different ages. I don't think he's 24 until this week.
Thursday, so apparently.
He's going to be enjoying his birthday then and definitely on vacation. But the pace in these early stages has definitely brought them towards the course record, but at the moment they're going to have to really get a shift on. You can almost see them out the corners then. The pace is definitely picking up. I think another Amos Kurgat is a runner in there. He's 32, 59.34. You can just see him on the shoulder. Kumatai is still another in that blue singlet. And I think it's Congo's the athlete that's in the yellow that's just gone off the back of that lead group.
Yeah, Kamutai, by the way, in the same training group as Amos Serum, who won the 3,000 metre steeplechase at the Diamond League just a couple nights ago, and Nicholas Kimeli as well, phenomenal 5,000 metre runner over the years. So he's in a fast training group with a lot of men who are very, very strong on the track. So he's got some good speed work in him. Has Kamutai and Sawe and Lassoy still in here, hanging on as well. His lifetime best 58.55, third in Berlin earlier on this year. So frequently running inside 60 minutes. He's starting to stack up the numbers, but we don't often see some of these men, rarely see them compete under a half marathon. Always half marathon, maybe the odd 10k, but hardly see them on the track at all.
Sebastian Sare there, that's his pedigree on the screen. Prague half marathon champion in 2024, but that world half marathon gold medal. So he's a real prolific road runner. When you talk about the wins that he's taken, and winning's a nice habit to have that he's got in 2024. And as I said, the last couple of days has slightly gone under the radar, which doesn't often happen as a world champion.
Well, the leading women as well, that pack's starting to just splinter down a little bit. Amangole just wanted to sit onto the pacemaker and get things moving, but you're right, James, they're a bang on kind of 65-minute tempo through 5 kilometres. We'd love to see them break that. And also, we've got to have one eye on, of course, Grovdal a little bit further back, aiming for 66.30. That would be the Nordic record, European record we're not sure we're going to see that go today. 65.15 from Sifan Hassan.
Yeah, Sheila Chalanga is another one right in there. We had 10 athletes, we think, through the first 5 kilometres inside or around course record pace. Chalanga herself won in Lille in 2024, and she was 11th here 12 months ago, but for some it was almost too warm. They didn't get it right 12 months ago, but the race organisers bringing it forward by 90 minutes. This 9:30 start has definitely helped athletes, and looking out for the commentary box here, the conditions are almost perfect, Matt.
Oh, and the photographers are getting in position. The crowd are lining the half a mile finishing straight as well. So, look, what are we? Just under 40 minutes or so away from welcoming the elites home. They've got a bit of running to do until then.
So wherever you're joining us from around the world, this is the Copenhagen Half Marathon for 2024. I know people are on different time zones. Some have delayed their long runs on a Sunday. Some got up early, got it done. For some, they're going to go back to bed before maybe getting up and getting a few miles in. But hopefully this gives you inspiration. And you can see there, Jakob Ingebrigtsen. So the athlete that the waves of media interest over the last 48 hours. And even going out for his shakeout jog yesterday, the amount of paparazzi trying to chase him down. I think he was only running 7-minute miling, but they were out there trying to get a shot of this phenomenon. And to make his debut, but you can see, you know, the styles, you can see maybe even looks, whether you can read into whether he looks as if he's just breathing a little bit harder than the athletes in front. But yeah, 21 minutes on the race clock. His personal best over 10 kilometres on the road is just inside 28 minutes. So there's going to be a few unknowns. He must have obviously covered fast times in training, but there's going to be a lot of unknowns, and that fact and figure thrown out himself in the press conference that he only runs up to 20 kilometres in training. But yeah, he definitely does a few double days, Matt, doesn't he?
He certainly does. He certainly does. And by the way, just looking at the clock there, just over 22 minutes through the 8-kilometre mark, and that is already bringing him down towards 58 minutes. So they're just subtly increasing this, and we can tell by the athletes who have fallen off. But this is great to see a group of 6 men. Aragawi just pushing the pace up at the front as well. This is a very, very slight downhill section, but I will say between sort of 10 and 12k, it will just go uphill ever so slightly.
Well, just trying to see whether that is Allegari. Yes, I think it is. I think you're right. But so we've lost one of the paces, and you can see on the right of the screen.
We've lost Philip. We've lost Cheptiek.
Oh, they've gone. The paces picked up, and Allegari there is the only pacer on the left of the screen. This great split screen here, and the elite women, they're at a control point in the early stages. As we said, they're looking at around about 3:05 per kilometre. And that's just inside 5-minute miling to the early pages. Kip Kenboy is the athlete there in the blue.
Yeah, I think such is the nature of, you know, running now, distance running, and everyone has their markers, don't they? They're operating at 65-minute tempo, and there's a massive gap in front of them. No one wanted to be isolated out there, and you can see those sort of sub-elite men, the elite C group, sort of queuing up behind, because make no mistake, sub-65, even for a man, James, is very, very fast running.
No, it is. And going through one of the few tunnels here, a few little dips, so they'll pop out, and they're getting some great support on the course. You can hear the cheers. Kamatai on the left of that group, but Aragaru there, his eyes are fixed, only due to go to 10 kilometres.
And I think what gets overlooked for me about Jakob is the way that he's got so much time. You talked about the paparazzi and you know, the media. He's heading out for his shakeout jog yesterday, and they're all over him, but he's got so much time for a lot of people. He's happy to take photos of them, he's happy to talk to them, he's happy to extend press conferences. And it's mesmerizing, you know, in a world where a lot of athletes, they want to be in and out, and he's the complete opposite, and he still manages to perform time and time again. He never shies away from competition. He talked about having COVID a couple of weeks back, and I think, you know, that's when he was started to consider, is Copenhagen potentially on the cards? Is it a good idea?
Yeah, we're trying to work out the timelines, wasn't it, when he put his interest into the race. So for some, this will be their big season plan, but for Jakob, just a couple of weeks, and then into the fire. And even the unknown of the last 48 hours, wanted to see how he felt obviously winning that Diamond League, that would have been his real focus of the week. And as you said, mix zones, anti-doping, everything that you've got to go through that you don't see on the screen when you see athletes that take a title or win something, what happens, and obviously the travel after that, and the press conferences that he had to go through yesterday. So there's a lot of media attention, makes it very difficult. I think Cole Hocker talked about winning the 1500 metres against Jakob, how hard it was to get out for a run the next few days. So yeah, media interest does make it hard.
I think it's just scary how consistent he is, and you talk about all the travelling he does. I know he's very, very particular. He's very careful. He'll travel in a mask even today, and he'll wipe down plane seats before he gets on them as well. So he's awfully careful, but even sometimes the best of the best can't help but have these little dips in performances. We've seen him even after that 3,000 world record, a little tired, but he's coming here and he's looking comfortable as we approach this 10,000 metre split almost halfway.
Yeah, Jacob Kiplimo's stats on the screen there. That's 7:31 world record set in Lisbon when Lisbon was in March of that year in 2021. But winning one of the hardest races on the planet, the World Cross Country title. But he's someone that is just so smooth in the early stages. You just see him just on the heels of Aragaru. And the fact that they had to pull in one of the best 5,000 metre runners in the world because they knew the pace that was needed. And Jakob just looking like he's maybe just breathing. I don't know whether I'm reading into it, Matt. What's your thoughts on how Jakob's looking?
Well, sure. I think it is quite warm out there as well. You could just see, took that turn awfully tight, didn't he? And not too much room on the inside. There's something he won't be used to doing, lapping the 400 oval so often, and I think he senses something's coming here. Kiplimo's just looking around. Kiplimo's eyeing up Aragawi, and I mentioned before, from 10k to 15k, when he broke that world record, we saw a low 13-minute 5k split. I think it was 13:02 if it's correct, and that is just astronomical. It's phenomenal running. To give you an indication, if they're around 27, 29 at 10 kilometers, that would be 58 flat speed. Can they make up 30 seconds over that last half? And look, this is Aragawi done here now. It's Kiplimo, and Jakob is over on the far side of the road. He's gone past Aragawi, and I mentioned, here we are, so 27:27, so we're just inside 58-minute tempo. The record is certainly on, and that's Jakob peeling off. That's Jakob done. This is a...
Wow. I thought he was breathing heavily. It's just too much. I think after obviously winning the Diamond League on Friday night, he's gone inside 27:30, so it is a Norwegian national 10,000 metre record on the road, but he'll be gutted with that. Surely, Matt, going into this, he wanted to challenge the best. I said he looked like he was just breathing a little bit harder than I thought he would be, Matt.
But what has really surprised me here is he's so calculated. He's a man who knows his speed so much, and I would have thought he would have come off it a little bit earlier and measured himself all the way to the end and settled for a European record. I mean, Wonder's European record's 59:13 and settled for something like that. I mean, by the way, even though he stopped, he could still break that record if he is to carry on and get back up to speed and join in with this next group. I'm not sure he's going to do that, but this is very unlike Jakob to be going with the pace and completely drop off like that. That is a really big shock. I mean, it took us by surprise. We were speechless. We had no words at that point. And by the way, this is Cezarek and Elia. These are men who are operating at inside 59-minute tempo. But
no, he's done. He's absolutely done. I mean, I just think there's
a race too far.
A race too far. Stepping up the distance to the unknown. I mean, there's confidence and there's belief. But this is one of the world's best, of half marathons against the world best half marathon runners, and therefore you can look at them now, how relaxed and how controlled they are at this pace.
He was leading through 10k.
Well, he won the 10k split. So, but I tell you what, that's going to humble him slightly. I know it wasn't perfect preparation, but he would have gone into this thinking he could, roll with the best, and maybe might come undone in the last few kilometres. I don't think he would have envisaged stopping at 10 kilometres.
Well, look, Jeff asked him in the press conference yesterday. He's a man who does so much threshold, and he said, what is your threshold? And he came out and he said it is around 21k per hour, maybe just over. So he knows he can do that comfortably. So I was just a little bit shocked that he was happy to go with this ferocious pace early, and even just 58 minutes. We can't disrespect it, the level these men operate at. And yeah, you say humbled. I mean, it's come at the end of a long season, and he was unsure. In the press conference, he was admitting that, you know, I'm not sure what tomorrow's going to throw. I'm not sure how I'm going to cope with the speed. And look, clearly that 1500 specific work that he has had to do has paid.
Yeah, and that second split was faster. Obviously, a big increase, around about 13:33, wasn't it? I think for that second 5 kilometres. So there was an increase, and maybe that just started to bite. You know, when you're talking about thresholds, talk about, you know, what limit runners can run at. You know, maybe it just tipped the slight balance of where Jakob's at right now, and it just was too much in the legs, too much fatigue, lots of emotion. Said, you know, being ill early on in the end. He's back running again, Matt. Look, he's not given up yet. So he stepped off now twice, come back onto the course twice. And
well, here's the moment. This is 10 kilometers. He just gets through there, and it's just decisive. He just stops straight away, and he's almost crying out there as if we thought, you know, is it an injury? Is it a stitch? But then now he's back running. I mean, Henrik actually did quite similar last year, didn't he? You know, Henrik, I think after sort of 5k, 10k, then just decided he jogged it in 65 minutes, 66 minutes or something. But he's doing 11k. I think this is a bit of a victory lap. This is a bit of a, he said he's on vacation. I think he's genuinely going to just enjoy this and soak the course up quite possibly. And, you know, it's soon enough he's going to have the elite women roll by and some very happy men, I think, as well in behind.
Well, he's probably jogging to get picked up. It wasn't anything I thought that we would see today. Jakob stepping off. There was just so much talk in the week about how fast he'd run, and you know, whether he would even win the race and break the world record. But there's the women's 10 kilometre split coming up on the screen there. Kemboy leading them through in 30:52. So they're maintaining course record pace, Matt. Kemboy in that group, Alangoli, Chalanga, and it's a very, very strong. You can see the 8 of the top 10 being Kenyans. Govdal at the bottom of that screen as well. So looking towards that long-standing Norwegian record.
Yeah, they're right on 65-minute tempo at the moment, and that is Kip Kemboy just looking very, very smooth up front. I mentioned before in the in the pre-show, and how she's so often the bridesmaid, gets over like 4th at the Olympic Games in 10,000, 5th over 5,000. She's had a very busy summer herself, and even at the World Cross Country Championships earlier on in the year, she was 3rd there. So she's awfully consistent, always turning up. But unfortunately, her compatriots, when you look at the likes of Kip Yeagon and Chebet and Helen O'Beary and people like that, she's just always playing, you know, second fiddle to the supreme runners. So Aragawi's still in there, James. This is good to see. He's moving things along. This looks like he's just clapping, waving. Kiplimo and co. Sawe's still in here. Kamutai as well, and Lasoy. So these men, and that's Aragawi done. So pace is off, and when is Kiplimo really going to start to squeeze it? Is he saving it for that final 5k? And he decided before, you know, 10 to 15k, that's too much. He really faded that final 5k when he broke the record that day. Has he got something up his sleeve here where he's just going to attack and obliterate that final 5k? And of course, we're looking at him, fully expecting it to be him. But don't count out Kurgat. And there we go. This is a sorry sight.
Yeah, Jakob, he's kind of jogging and getting going again, but the groups just keep going past, and I don't think those that are going past would have expected to be overtaking Jakob Ingebrigtsen.
I think you were right. He's waiting to get picked up. He's thinking, how the hell am I going to get back to the start line, to the finish area?
No, I'm gutted for him, because it was such a story, wasn't it? Such a fairy tale ending to a track season. But Hans Christian Andersen, famous Danish writer, not all of his fantasies ended up being happy endings, and today for Jakob Ingebrigtsen, it's not ended as a happy ending over the half marathon distance, but he's ended with a personal best over 10 kilometres, and I think that's a Norwegian record for the same distance, Matt.
Yeah, well, and you know, I wonder if this will mean that he actually goes away in the winter. He almost eyes up another half marathon. I mean, I think he's mentioned that we're likely to see him at the European Cross Country Championships, and we know he's injured this winter, so we didn't see him there, and that could be another reason why potentially he's struggled with the half marathon today, because in the winter we know he missed a little bit of work there.
Oh, he'd missed about 5 months, wasn't it? I think, or something like that. So, you know, off a full year of training, maybe talk about training a bit like a bank balance, that he's just withdrawn too much money over the summer, getting ill during the summer program as well. That can't have helped him. Bit of illness off maybe not the biggest of aerobic bases, but now the race is on. Kiplimo looks great, doesn't he? But he's got company.
Yeah, here we go. I'm going to be so intrigued to see what this 5K split is. And it's Kurgat who's just struggling to live with these men at the moment. The 32-year-old, second in the Berlin half earlier on this year. 59.34 man at his very best. That's from 2021 as well, and he's just got back on actually as I say that. But obviously Sarway and Lasoy in here, these are also two men who have broken 59 minutes, and Sarway the world champion, and he kicked in fine fashion when he won that world title just almost 12 months ago now. 13 kilometers, so a few away from that 15k mark where I think things are really going to get moving.
Yeah, Lasoy's got a personal best 58.55. So not too many athletes can boast sub 59 clock-ins, and he looks really good. As you said, there's Kurgat getting onto the back of that group. Looked like he was starting to drop off, but he's back in that group of 4 now. But Kiplimo doesn't mind this, does he? He in that Lisbon world record ran low 13 minutes for that split, so that did the damage. Then actually almost struggled a little bit with a 14-minute clocking from 15 to 20 kilometres. So a little bit more controlled in that third 5-kilometre split. And at the moment, he's the one pushing the pace on. And I wonder whether he knows it's down to 3 now, Matt, behind him.
He'll certainly know. He'll certainly know that there's 3 men sitting on him. I mean, he's a man who likes to be up front, though. At that world record, he was completely solo. Went right ahead of the pacemakers early on and just destroyed it, didn't he? Just pounding pavement. So, and it's still Kip Kemboy up front in the women's race, slotting in behind the pacemaker, looking awfully smooth. Won the Valencia half marathon last year. Of course, that's coming up in a month or so time. And second of those World Half Marathon Championships also again last year. So some superb credentials, and like I said, they're going to be closing in on Ingebrigtsen himself in a moment's time. 4th of those Olympic Games over 10,000. And I think, when we talk about Jakob and Kiplimo came in along with Sarway and others who have prepared for this meticulously. I think they've come in, and Kiplimo would have been training for the half marathon even through. We talk about that Olympic disappointment. He would have had this in mind, given it was 4 weeks on from that Olympic Games.
Yeah, even 3 weeks of a little bit of half marathon specific work. Just even getting your head in the mindset that you've got to run this distance. A few days isn't enough, I don't think. But there's the splits coming up on the screen. There's their 10 kilometres against the course record. And you can see it is very, very close to that course record pace. And the fact that we've got such a healthy group there, and the fact that they've got so many of the fast elite men around them as well, that's going to help them keep clipping off these 5-minute miles, 3:05 kilometre splits. They're 38 minutes into the race. So as you said, this is going to be really interesting, this third 5-kilometre split. This is where it can be make and break. This is where, obviously, whether you've done the civic training in your block going in, but talk about civic training. Look over the shoulder of Kiplimo, maybe deciding he was doing a lot of running at the front, wasn't he, Matt? But maybe deciding that with the 3 athletes behind, that take a bit of a ride towards that 15-kilometre split.
Do you know what? If we are going to see a world record here today, we could have a fight for it. And all of these men looking very, very smooth and strong at this stage in the race, coming into that final quarter. And look, James, I think only around 7 or 8 men have gone sub 58 minutes. We could see 4 here today. If these guys are all still in contention in those final Ks, I mean, they're operating inside 58-minute tempo. Would you believe it? That would be quite something to see 4 in the same race. And reminds us of Valencia, when Candy ran that 57.32, and that same race, by the way, Kiplimo, 20 years of age, ran 57.37 that day, just behind the world record. He, of course, then a year later goes on to break it himself. And eyes on Cesarek then, as he approaches that 15-kilometre mark, just coming up to the 14k marker, and he's completely on his own, and that's not where you want to be. Saying that, he was on his own around this stage last year, wasn't he? Just reeling in Koech at that point with that fantastic sprint finish. And he's a man who we think is eyeing up a marathon in December. He said, I'm planning to race a marathon in December. And, well, me and you both know one of the only marathons in December is, of course, Valencia. So we can probably expect to see him there. And switching from Skechers to Kip Run this year, but surprisingly we think he's had an injury earlier on in the season. We haven't seen him at all. To think that he's opening up his season in September.
Yeah, he's at about 28 seconds adrift at 10 kilometres. Obviously, a lot has happened since that 10 kilometres. Drama all round. But he was just inside the top 10, so he will have edged up a couple of places. But I think it's a fairly large gap to these athletes on the screen in front. And that is correct, 14.6 kilometres. So 300 metres away from hitting the next really big time split. You can see the drink stations, they don't even look at them. They don't need them for this, really. Very few of the elite runners would take fluids on board.
I would also argue they're just moving too fast. Yeah. You know, in that marathon, it's just a notch down where they can actually, you know, inhale and take in fuel. At this speed, I think it would be awfully difficult to even, you know, swallow, take a bit of fluid in you, especially gels. Forget that. Okay. If they're just outside 41 minutes of 15k, that would be 57.45 tempo. That would leave them with sort of 15 seconds to make up over that last 5k, which is very, very doable.
It is, with the quality of athletes on the screen. Charvet he looked a little bit of a reluctant leader, didn't he? Didn't seem like he wanted to be at the front and almost go into the wide part of the road. And Kip Limo deciding maybe again. He's been at the front a few times, but without really putting his foot down. There you go. Okay. Inside.
Okay, there's still
41.20, I think.
Yeah,
there you go.
There we are, 41.17. So 41.15 would be 58-minute tempo, basically. So they've run very, very even to this point. Actually, they set off quite measured, and they've just managed to maintain that the whole way through. So we're going to need to see fireworks over this last 5,000 meters or so, and already we're starting to see Kip Limo push. I know we've said that a couple times. He's sort of gone to the front. He's teased it, hasn't he? And hasn't quite fully committed yet. Sawe and Lesoy are going to hang on to him, and could we see an absolute spectacle?
Sawe's there. Looks like that's dropped off again. He's dropped off a couple of times, but he's done very well to fight his way back into that group. But yeah, that 2:46 pace that they've been averaging to this point now looks like it is picking up. You can see the cadence, the leg pace of the first three there, and they are now starting to pull away. The race is on, and as you said, they're going to need a big 5 kilometres now, Matt, if we are going to get towards world record pace again. But we're definitely getting towards that course record pace.
And I just wonder, one of the reasons that Kip Limo is not squeezing things so much and not pushing on and putting his foot down is because he's got company at this stage. And I think, you know, first and foremost, you know, when Jeff asked him in the press conference yesterday, you know, are you here to win? You know, he smiled and he said, look, of course, you know, winning is the main thing. It's the aim of the game, isn't it? And so I think he will be cautious of that. He's saving something. He knows that these men behind him are phenomenal half marathon runners in their own right. You know, the world champion, both low 58-minute men. So I think he's acknowledged he's got company, and you can see him just checking his shoulder there as well.
So on the caption to the bottom left, it says 23 seconds outside, but now it's a case of putting the hammer down. 12 seconds outside the course record pace when it was set here. Jessica Kumara going through in 41.05. So it was a solid 5 kilometre split for Kumara towards the 15 to 20, running 13.55. So the fact that these three athletes, they could run quicker than that, can't they, Matt?
Yeah, they really can, and they're actually heading onto a slight downhill section, heading into what will be a very atmospheric 18-kilometre mark. The Norborough Bridge is so often very, very popular, a fan favourite, and they go all out. Kip Kemboy looking very, very smooth in behind that Pacemaker, and she too, James, is running awfully even. Pacemaker doing a phenomenal job for her 65-minute tempo, and that would be right on. You know, for her, she'll be looking at that lifetime best as well. She'll want to get as close to that as possible, and I think she's going to, in a similar fashion, look to really close out from 15 to 20k. You know, what damage can she do at that point?
Yeah, and they're starting to drop athletes off this lead women's group, and they're heading towards also their 15-kilometre split. So again, it'll be interesting to see if they've maintained pace. I saw there, you can see on the back of that split screen on the left-hand side, you know, he's up against the world record holder, the world champion, and he looks as controlled as anyone in that leading trio.
Yeah, and Lesoy's a man that you got to look out for. He's actually did a half marathon relatively recently. I say that, but back in the summer months, and 60-30 there, got a nice win under his belt. He's always there. He's very, very rarely in his career has he finished outside the top three. So he's doing it here today, even with the stellar lineup we have. 14 men inside 60 minutes coming into this race, and it looks like he's definitely going to place inside that top three, take home some of the prizes, some of the winnings here. But is he just starting to falter? Is this the first sign of him beginning to struggle with this pace? Kiplimo, Sawe and Lesoy.
And there's a sign for the super halves. Remember the races that feature the likes of Cardiff, the likes of Prague, Lisbon, where the world record is from.
Yeah, just like in the marathon majors that we see, you want to get that finishing medal. Athletes are going to be able to get that finishing medal when they cross the line. Some will be completing their super half journey here today as well, running their final kilometers towards that medal, so they'll be able to collect it. And interestingly, James, we were talking, if we do see a course record, a world record here today, for anything to get ratified, athletes in this top three will need to hand over their shoes immediately when they finish. And of course, it's, you know, this is the area we're living in. Shoes need to be inspected now post-race.
Absolutely, yeah. Shoe technology is, well, since about 2016, it's just gone through the roof. And we've seen that obviously in records that have been set. Kenboy on the front of the screen there, going through 15 kilometres in just over 46 minutes.
And it's worth noting, not only have we got Margaret Kenboy up front, who we've mentioned an awfully lot. There we are, pacemaker peels off, so it's down to her. A few of those men, are they going to be able to help her out? Norma Shreve in there as well. But Judy Kenboy, the lead woman, 66.35, her lifetime best, so she is going to obliterate that if she lives with this pace for a few more kilometres to the wire. The 25-year-old, she won in Riga, the half marathon earlier on this year, 67 minutes there, but she has got a 65-minute clocking when she won the Geneva half. But you know, it's like a lot of half marathons. You mentioned the Great North Run last couple weekends ago as well. A fast course, but not able to be ratified for record's sake.
Yeah, point-to-point course, so yeah, not ratified for world or national records, the Great North. But today has everything signed off and made sure everything has hit the limits or the positions it needs to be in. And there's Judy Kenboy there. So it's got a great history of winning half marathons. When you're unbeaten, it said
unbeaten
earlier,
this year on the road.
It's about a habit, isn't it? And it's about, you know, knowing how to win, and obviously being a seasoned half marathon runner. I think that's something that you know, should not go unnoticed. And now they're interestingly in single file, and you can see the caption there saying that they're 1 second inside course record pace. So yeah, we are definitely towards that 65-minute mark, and that's the barrier today that we'd love the women to get inside.
Absolutely, and Kip Kenboy's just got to hang on to Shreve here, make the most of it. Her personal pacemaker's dropped out, but she's got a brand new one in Shreve, and she's got these men to operate with. So this women's race hottening up, and this is interesting. So all the talk's been about Kiplimo. First it was about Jakob and him teasing us during the week, and of course, rightly so. You know, he deserves that attention, but at the end of the day, we're coming back to the world champion Sawe up at the front here, and Lesoy, and these are the two men who are pushing on, who are looking good at this point. One thing I would say about Kiplimo, when he ran that world record, he ran 26.31 for 10,000 on the track, completely solo. And this is, by the way, for the nerds out there, he wasn't wearing super shoes either. He did this in old school Mambas, and it was one of the best things that I've ever seen. So that summer he had a 26.30 under his belt. Look, he's run 26.46, what he ran in the Olympic Games this season. He's run fast over 5,000, but perhaps he's in not quite as good as form as he was that summer.
Jacob Kiplimo looks like he's being pressured for the first time. The gap behind him, he struggled a few times, and he's trying to get back in contention for the podium. But it is Sawe Lesoy are the two athletes that are pulling away now, and I don't think again we expected that. We expected it maybe to be a battle between Jakob and Jacob, but we saw Jakob Ingebrigtsen, if you're tuning in now, step off just past 10 kilometres. He led through 10 kilometres, but it looked tough. 27, and then stepping off, jogging a few kilometres. But yeah, Jacob Kiplimo, the world record holder, we expected him to be at the front here at 18 kilometres, but wow, Sawe Lesoy are the two athletes that push it on. I tell you what, Lesoy, look at him, Matt. Look how relaxed he looks. Look at those shoulders, the power coming off the ground.
He's moving things along. They have slowed a little bit as well, James. So certainly, Kiplimo is not just dropping off, but they're slowing up at the front. They're around about 58.15 now. So we're just beginning to lose sight of that course record. This is, we're coming down past the lakes, over the Norbro Bridge. This is the atmosphere that I was talking about. You can see the crowd, they're moving. It's almost Tour de France-esque. Some people will try and jump in and run with these guys, but that's the distinct gap. Here comes the flares as well. This is the big descent of the Copenhagen Half Marathon.
Yeah, but the flares in the face of the runners. Not sure they'll want too much of that, but they will appreciate this noise. The noise on the streets of Copenhagen. You can see, obviously, the cyclists with them to make sure they're safe. But I tell you what, Kiplimo has fought, and he really is fighting to stay in contention. He's not giving this up, Matt, is he?
No, he responded to that atmosphere over the bridge. He thought, you know what, I can't let these boys go. Not at this stage in the race. I mentioned Lesoy won that World Championships last year. He had a fast finish there, out kicking his compatriots. And it was a Benyo on that day, wasn't it? It's going to be Lesoy today and potentially Kiplimo at this stage.
Lesoy now trading places, sitting in to the slipstream. Osare deciding that just changing the lead. These two, I wonder whether there's a little bit of conversation going on. But Kiplimo, he was a further 10 metres down about half a kilometre ago, and he's got back in contention. He is fighting for this. This is not a race he's going to give up easily.
Would you back him? He's got the track pedigree. He's got the fight. 12,
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, he's an absolute superstar over the half marathon distance. Knows how to win. Knows how to run fast. You can have a bad kilometre, can't you, Matt, in a half marathon? And as long as you control your breathing, as long as you can get your rhythm back, and maybe just coming out of a corner, you can just lose a few spaces as well. But he's definitely fighting back. Going out there, he's the athlete back in fourth place. I can't see him getting back in contention. The speed that they're moving, and that's sorry at the front. Just the speed they're moving at the front is phenomenal.
Well, there we are then. Estimated time 58.04. So they certainly laid it down. They certainly picked things up. Kiplimo just out of shot. Is he hard to their right, our left? There he is. So it looks like he's pulling up alongside them, although pictures can be deceiving, can't they? But we've now got three, and we now got the main contender, the man who was all the hype before. This was a genuine world record attempt. That's where the discussions were. That's where the pacing were. But right from the offset, they've hovered around 58 kilometers. They've been pretty even. Yes, it's fluctuated a little bit, but now we're coming into these final few kilometers. He looks a lot more comfortable, and you mentioned those rough patches, those bad kilometers. I think at 16, 17k, you are starting to measure yourself. You're going, well, can I sustain this to the finish? You're taking stock, you're checking in with how you're feeling. But once you get to 19, that 20k mark, you're off. You don't care how you feel. You're supposed to feel tired at that point. We've got a real race on our hands, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is the Copenhagen Half Marathon. This is what it's all about. The atmosphere, the noise. We spoke before about, if you're watching this race and you want to be a part of it, you better enter soon. It opens in October, but it sells out awfully fast, just with every other race in Denmark at the moment. You can't get a bib unless you know the right people. Good luck. The marathon sells out instantly as well. That's already sold out. That's in May.
Absolutely, yeah, get involved in the marathon as well, but you're right, that sells out quickly as well. The World Athletics Road Running Championships to be held here in 2026. They're hoping for 65,000 runners, so there might be a few extra spots, so do get in your entries early to that. The Sparta Athletics and Running Club do such a huge amount of development for running in Denmark. They had so many athletes at the Olympic Games in different events, track and field, and obviously they're just so proud of their event profile. And this having just started in 2015, obviously, when you look at those super halves in Lisbon, Prague, Berlin, you've got Cardiff, Valencia, many of those have been going many more years than Copenhagen. But Copenhagen, the fact that it's had world records, the fact that it's sold out, and honestly, it is one of the best cities in the world to come and run, come and enjoy. And I tell you what, we're probably around about 5 minutes away from crowning our champion here in the Elite Men's for 2024.
Yeah, less than that. We're going to be right on that 20-kilometre mark very shortly. 3 men in contention. We had a sprint finish last year. Cesarek coming back from the depths of nowhere to outkick Koech right on the line. We're not going to have that this year. We're going to have 3 men who are going to come into that finishing straight, head towards Oosterbro and the National Stadium here at Philipparken. What a battle. The finishing straight, by the way, half a mile or so long. So let's catch this 20-kilometer split. That course record 58:01. We seriously hope that they can beat that. The course has changed over the years. It's been tweaked just to account for the masses and the popularity of this event.
Ed Cheserek back in 6th place, so adrift by a minute at that point. So that would have grown, I would have thought, over this last 5 kilometres as we're waiting for the official split. It is fast here in Copenhagen. There it is, 20 kilometres on the screen, 55:12.
That's 58:18 tempo, so they're going to need to really rally this final kilometre if we're going to see a course record. And they're looking around at each other. No one wants to move, do they? Not yet, not at this stage. I think they're going to save it. I mean, Kiplimo will be saving it for those very, very final few hundred metres. How long can you leave it?
Yeah, it's going to be very quick. And obviously the event record, 58:01. Jeffrey Kamora, that was the world record at the time. Obviously the course has been subtly changed over the years to make it even faster, Matt. And now we are down to 3 athletes. Jacob Kiplimo, the world record holder, on the left of the screen. He's come back from being dropped by about 10-15 metres, Matt. Sorry, next to him. Head leaning to the right now. Now fatigue is showing. Kiplimo looks good, Matt, doesn't he?
He looks awfully good, James, at this stage. Look, 2 men came here that shared so much in common, mastered their craft, Kiplimo and Jakob Ingebrigtsen. That's who he was hyped about. They're the same age, born in the same year. One of them faltered, 10 kilometres he dropped out. But this man, Kiplimo, is still in contention. He's quite the contrast to Jakob in many ways. Trains in the hills of Uganda, humble in the shadows, isn't he? Both backed by the same brand as well, who started it all, but he's going to have to go some here. Sarwe comes into this finishing straight, leading at this stage, but Kiplimo, I feel, James, is right where he wants to be as he pulls up alongside Sarwe, the world champion.
Lasor's just dropped off now. He's trying to get back in contention. So it is the world champion against the world record holder into the latter stages of the Copenhagen Half Marathon for 2024.
As a race organiser, you can't ask for more than this. You bring a stellar, studded field to Copenhagen and you've got 2 men. Differences in them. You know, one's a track runner, one's a half marathon specialist. I'm saying that we've got the world record holder and the world champion here. But they're neck and neck coming into this final straight, James. They've opted to go down different routes, and that's all you need. That's poor from Kiplimo. He has not sighted that well, and who's at fault there? He should have gone with Sarwe down that left-hand channel.
Sebastian Sarwe, the world champion. Looks like he's stolen a march here.
Lesoy's not done.
Lesoy's trying to come back. Jacob Kiplimo, look at that. There's the shot coming down towards the finishing line. Oh, it's done, Matt, isn't it?
It's done at this stage. He's spoiled the party, really. He's ripped up this grip, Sarwe. He's doing what he did 12 months ago at the World Championships, ladies and gentlemen. He's come here. He's conquered the world record holder. He's conquered the world record holder on the track, the famous Jakob Ingebrigtsen, the rock star. Sarwe, your 2024 Copenhagen champion. Unbeatable out there.
Wow, Sebastian Sarwe, what a win, taking the title, and I think just a fraction outside the event record. So we hope to get inside that 58:01 record, but I tell you what, as you talked about, he's beaten the world record holder. He's beaten Jakob Ingebrigtsen at his debut half marathon. He's beaten very best of the field behind him.
I think at the end of the day, you've got to remember it's a race out there, isn't it? And it came down to a race, and a man who can kick at the end of a half marathon. We've seen Kiplimo run awfully fast, but it is his kick that lets him down time and time again. And, you know, he's won the World Cross Country Championships in dominating fashion, but he looks a little bit disappointed with that one.
Yeah, the world champion becomes the champion of Copenhagen for 2024. And what a sprint finish. And maybe just going the other side of the barriers just cost him just a little bit of a challenge. But we're looking at the clock now. This is see how many runners can get
inside. Looks like Cheserek. It's got to be Cheserek with that style, man. You can recognise those arms a mile off, can't you? So he's just outside, you know, his winning time from last year. It'd be good to see him with a consistent, steady inside 59:30. That's strong running as he builds towards a marathon later this winter.
Absolutely, and he's done that solo, a lot of it. He's moved up to 5th place. Gogat was just in front of him inside 59 minutes and 59.32 for Ed Cheserek as another couple of athletes come over the finishing line. Kumatai is another sub 60-minute finisher there. As the clock ticks over, we're not going to beat the record today of sub 60-minute finishers.
7 inside. Look, it might be 7.
Just
7 men inside, and just
outside there, yeah.
Just one outside, but yeah, goodness me, you talk about that finishing straight and Kiplimo's error, and
a race that had everything though, Matt. All the talk obviously around Jakob Ingebrigtsen's debut, and it came to an abrupt end just after the 10-kilometre point, and here's the finishing straight, and the drone shot from above, and you can see, look at that, nothing between the top 3 there, so close.
Isla just coming across just outside his lifetime best, and just outside 60.30 as well. But this is great to see. How many men, we talk about sub 60, how many men can we get? Sub 59, but also sub 61, showing the strength and depth here as well. And we'll start to turn our attention to Jakob Simonsen, who's out there on the course, and he's going for that Danish record, isn't he?
A lot of runners inside 61 minutes. They might not have broken the magical 60 minutes, but some very fast times behind. And Kipyeg on there, you can see with the Swiss flag next to his name as well. I think Pateltom, was Cross, the Israeli athlete as well. Gidai's in as well. So some fast times behind. Waiting for confirmation of those times.
So let's focus back on the elite women then. Kip Kemboi coming up to that 20-kilometre marker. Is she still on course? Record tempo. We just missed it. The event record as we were corrected. Of course, by Katz, the man who looks after measuring these events and measuring several others out there on the circuit. And Kip Kemboi looks to be on her own at this stage. We believe she is the lead female out there, James.
Yeah, she looks like she's moved away from the chase group behind. We're looking for that 20-kilometre split as well, with 61 minutes on the race clock. So expecting around about 3 minutes or so of running, and whether we can get inside that women's event record. And that stands obviously at 65 minutes and 8 seconds.
Well, this definitely looks like Jakob Simonsen. He said he wanted to run 62 something, and he's going to do it. He's going to be the Danish champion here today in the Copenhagen half marathon. That's a massive lifetime best for the man as well.
It is, and he's part of the organising here as well. So he's been a busy few days for him as well. And I think that's only just outside the national record as well.
It is, yeah, that national record of 61.55. That was phenomenal running from Simonsen. That is a huge breakthrough for him. He said before he wanted to chop a minute off. That's an ambitious goal, but when you know, your sessions indicate, don't they? And we'll have more on that, the celebrations of the Danish champion. But here's Kip Kemboi. She's on her own at this stage. Also, Judy Kemboi is out there. We believe she was in second place if she's managing to hold on to this speed. I think this pace might have lapsed a little bit. I think she's going to be very, very close to that 65.08, 65.15 sort of marker for the event record as we're ticking over 63. She's got half a mile to run, James.
61.42 through 20 kilometres. So you're right, has dropped just slightly. 600 metres of running to go. Margaret Kip Kemboi is the athlete that is now dominant now and leading the Copenhagen half marathon here. And she could be on her way to the title.
Well, 2021, a fantastic year for half marathon runners when the world record was set. It's when the course record here, Kamwora and Gemetchu, was run as well. But Kip Kemboi glancing at his watch. She's going to be able to see the big screen in just a moment. She's all on her own. She's had men pacemakers pretty much all the way, to be honest. She's had that advantage as well. Into the final 400 metres. I mentioned before, she's so often the bridesmaid. Misses out on the medals at the Olympic Games. Bronze at the World Championships. Silver last year at the World Half Marathon Championships. But here today in Copenhagen, James, I've got no doubt about it. She is going to be your victor.
Yeah, keep an eye on the clock. I think it's going to be a big lifetime best. As you said, she's been on the podium at the World Half Marathon Championships and the World Cross Country Championships, but on the track this year she wasn't able to get onto that Olympic roster, and she's going to be on the top spot here in Copenhagen. But we're keeping an eye on the race clock. Gemetchu's record, we'd love that to go 64 minutes and 30 seconds. So it is Margaret Kip Kemboi leading into the home straight.
coming down past the National Stadium where FC Copenhagen plays. She's got a pitch length to run at this stage, James.
She has, and now the crowd cheers. We're keeping an eye on the clock. We're a shade inside, 65 minutes still. She needs a big finish. There's 21 kilometres. It's Margaret Kemboy who's going to take the title here in Copenhagen to be a massive lifetime best. She's going to miss the course record, but I think she's going to be on the top spot of the podium. It's going to be ever so close. Keep an eye on that. It almost matches the event record. I think it's just going to be a fraction outside, but your Copenhagen half marathon champion for 2024, Margaret Chelimo Kemboy. What a win. And I tell you what, she's on the top spot of this podium.
Oh, so close. Second or so outside the event record, and I think she was just, it looked lonely, didn't it? Although you had the crowd either side, you know, echoing her on down there, she was just a little bit lonely on that left hand side as Judy Kemboy comes across the line, 65.40 as well. Stopping her watch, that's a massive lifetime best. She's chopped a minute off her lifetime best.
That's a big run for Judy Kemboy. You're absolutely right, and she have to settle for second. You said she's been unbeaten, but it is a second place. But I tell you what, in a quality time.
Yeah, you don't mind that, do you? Second place with a minute lifetime best. You can take that. You can take that. So the rest of them will flock in as well. We're going to see plenty more elite women. James, we haven't seen her yet. Any pictures of her throughout the race because, of course, so much drama up front. We're looking for Grofdal out there. Is she on course to break that Nordic record, 66.30?
Yeah, it looks like Amagali's gone across the line in third place. So 66.09. And maybe just behind her, Sore was the first of the Ethiopian athletes across the line, just over 66 minutes. But we are looking for Grovdal. We think the Norwegian record is safe for another year. Ingrid Christiansen's long-standing record. So that did stand at 66.40. So she's not across the line yet. So keep an eye on the clock.
Oh, here she comes. There she is. Carolina Grovdal, 66.50. So
12 seconds, but a big lifetime best for her.
Yeah.
And that's been a long season. The European marathon champion from Rome back in June, holding your form till now. That is, that's some form, and to finish with a lifetime best. So she's going to have to find another race, hopefully here next year, Matt, and another 12 seconds.
Yeah, well, look, she enjoys Copenhagen. You talk about being at home from home almost as well, isn't it? And Ingebrigtsen said the same. There's going to be a lot of Norwegians, and the Scandinavians, when there's not a Danish representative, they'll all be cheering for the Norwegians out there. So great running from Carolina Grovdal. A nice lifetime best for her. And you can just see how hard it was out there today on the streets of Copenhagen. But we must say, near perfect condition. We missed out so closely on the men's side of an event record, and again on the women's as well. And there's the man who helped Grovdal. He was personally requested from Grovdal to pace her here today, and he's done it once again. So 2 for 2 for PBs for Escalante Phillips when he's pacing Carolina Grovdal.
Yeah, the Cambridge College athlete there doing a great job, and there's going to be a lot of Brits out on the streets, or an England team, men and women out there. Many of the English male runners are running with the elite women, and we're looking out also for the English female athletes when they cross the line. But you can see such numbers here, such depth. 68.20 on the clock, so way inside 70 minutes pace at the moment. So these athletes here, big lifetime best, and the organisers getting it absolutely spot on, Matt, with this earlier start, because you can feel the temperature rising, and obviously we still be around about 20 minutes or so away from starting the race. So this is, I think, the battle for the medals, or maybe the silver and bronze medals in the National Danish Championships. I think there's a few fist pumps, and there's a few happy screams of delights out there. But when we look back, Matt, of the race itself, the screams of it wasn't delight, it was disbelief of the crowd midway through the race when Jakob Ingebrigtsen stepped off. I'm still in a bit of shock about that. It was built into such a big rivalry, and then wasn't able to bring it home. But that could be the Finnish athlete who's going for the national record, I think, inside 70 minutes. Marino, and her national record stands at 70 minutes. So this could be a very, very fine bit of running. I think she's going to get inside her own national record. And there, look at the clock. Yeah, it is 69.40. 30. So fantastic bit of running by the Finnish athlete. She would have got some great support out on the course as well. The Nordic athletes definitely support each other.
That's a massive lifetime best for her as well. Came into this race with a 70-minute, 20-second half marathon lifetime best, so she's obliterated that. And more importantly, that's 70 minutes. It is a barrier. It's a benchmark for these women. She's done it once again, the 26-year-old. She's starting to really come into her own. She's coming into her prime. When you look at the endurance races that she's done, 2:28 marathon as well. She was third here last year in the marathon on the podium. I'm sure she loves it here. Sure she'll look to double back as well next year.
Govdal there with the Norwegian flag. So that Norwegian flag we thought might be flying a few times today. But Govdal there just, I think, going, safe to say, maybe second on the all-time Norwegian list. And it definitely was a lifetime best for her.
And we haven't seen Jakob cross the line. He hasn't come up on our system yet. So we can only presume that he did manage to eventually step off and get a lift back to the finish line as well. But it was a big shock, and it just came so fast as well. There wasn't a period where he dropped off. I mean, you mentioned he was struggling for a little bit, wasn't he? But he was still very much with the pace. He was still with these men. And look at this stint. Some the highlights of Salway doing what he does best, and that's kicking away from the rest of the field. Unbeaten over the half marathon and on the road this year. The world champion dethrones the world record holder here in Copenhagen, ever so close to that course record. And look, Kiplima will look back, and that was a racer's error, not following that racing line. You've got to study the course. You've got to know where you need to be. And he crossed the curve, didn't he? But it was all about this man.
Yeah, cyclists know that, don't they? They study and they look at maps, because that final part of a course, definitely the sprinters do it, don't they, in cycling, where they know every course inside out, because you take the wrong turn, you go the wrong side of a barrier, and that's it, it's game over. And it was almost game over for Kiplimo there. He got back into contention. He needed the perfect last 200 metres, and it just wasn't to be. But he can't take anything away. He was up against the world champion.
And the scary thing is, he's still just 23 years of age. And Salway, 25 years. These guys, they've still got a lot of running ahead of them. And James, we talk about, the road scene and people stepping up. At 23, should he hang around on the track a little bit more? I mean, look, the questions are going to be, everyone's going to start talking about it. When's he going to debut in the marathon? When can we expect to see it? We saw Cheptegei, his compatriot, try it out this year. It didn't pay off. But I think we're going to see him in a marathon soon. And this is Sarah Skru, of course.
Sarah Skru Christensen, she has run very well to, I think, going to take another Danish title. So consistent, Matt. And I think it's maybe going to be outside her national record, but it's still, I think, going to be another national title.
Certainly is. Just looking to be struggling down the finishing straight here, isn't she? Just sort of looks to be stumbling a little bit. So it's been a tough race for her out there. She's isolated a little bit on her own as well, coming to this final few kilometres. But she's going to do what she consistently does, and this is going to be another national title to her name, we think, at this stage of Sarah Skru. Outside a lifetime best, of course, and outside a Danish record. We understand that much, but that was the 21-kilometre mark she's just passed. So she will be your Danish champion, Jakob Simonsen, on the men's side, but we welcome her home. And Sarah Skru doing it once again, your new Danish champion over the 21.1 kilometre distance here in Copenhagen. 73 in change as well. Milner coming across the line. Good battle, and not far behind either. And I'm sure coming into that finishing straight, she would have sent Skru further up the road and thought to herself, can I rally? Have I got something? But the gap was just too much.
Well, in the drama of everything and all the information going on, Jakob did finish. He came across the finishing line, Matt. So he finished in 63 minutes and 13 seconds. So cruising home in 34th place.
Look at that.
So whether that is a San's record, but there were so many people kind of hiding around, and obviously all eyes are going back to the elite women. But he got across the line in 63 minutes and 13 seconds. So fair play to him. He kept on going. So Jakob Ingebrigtsen is an official finisher of the Copenhagen Half Marathon for 2024, and I wonder how close to his club record did he get, but I would have thought he would have stepped off a long time before that, so very, very surprised. But I tell you what, even more respect to him for continuing on. So he has finished his half marathon debut.
I got to give it to him. You know, the guy turns up time and time again. If he's not quite at his best, he still turns up, he still competes, and that was a little bit of a victory lap for him out there, I believe. And, you know, he mentioned it being on vacation, and I think, you know, he just wanted to enjoy himself and also just give something back to the fans who do follow him. And he does it for him. You know, he does it for the Norwegian people, for the Scandinavians as well, the Nordics out there. Congratulations to him. But for those of you who are interested, what could Jakob Ingebrigtsen run? Well, your questions have been answered. He's walked himself to a very modest 63 minutes and change half marathon, and well, not quite his threshold tempo you would expect. And we're going to hear from those race winners now as well. So, as James departs to head down and catch up with what we hope Ingebrigtsen and find out what happened to him, that abrupt stop, and we can recap those results. Margaret Kipkenboy 65.11 out there, big winning margin in the end. Judy Kemboy was close and with her through 15 kilometers, but the last 5k couldn't quite live with it. And Kip Kemboy just 3 seconds outside that event record. Amangole, one of the pre-race favourites as well, a minute or so back to right. Chalangat and Crofdale down is 7th. Well, she was sick last year, wasn't she? So 7th, but a lifetime best for her nonetheless. And Vino, mentioned before, running that finish record. And Verity Hopkins, great run from her inside 70 minutes. Holly Archer also very, very close to that 70-minute mark, or just outside sort of 70 minutes, apologies. And Sarah Skew as well, 73 minutes and change for her, coming across the line. And wrapping out your top 20, Kensitek as well in 20th place. So the clock still runs, and it's the time to focus on the 27,000 other runners out on that course, enjoying themselves, and many of them soaking up the atmosphere, soaking up the conditions. They've all got their own personal agendas here. They would have been training meticulously for, and of course there'll be a little bit of disappointment out there, but for those who may walk away a little bit disappointed, it happens to the best of them. We saw Kiplimo miss out. There can only be one winner, and of course Jakob Ingebrigtsen as well, and his story and how that will unfold over weeks to come. But he's probably a man who needs a little bit of a rest. You know, he is human after all, despite what he does time and time again. And it's interesting, you look at how much he performs. He often runs the indoor circuit. This year, even missing the indoor circuit, this was his 18th race of the season. He just competes so frequently, and I'm sure he's going to compete into the cross-country season as well. So we could crown out the year with 20 or so races. You compare that to the likes of Josh Kerr, who may well be watching. By the way, I think their half marathon times must be awfully similar. Kerr in San Diego last year, what did he run? 62 and change or 63 and change? Can't quite remember off the top of my head, but it's funny. They must be similar enough over 1500 and similar enough over half marathon as well, despite our preconceptions of what the man could do. Well, this is what it's all about, and there's the Norbro Running Club that I mentioned. That's where the fans are going to be on the bridge with the flares and the atmosphere. And there's a few of the men who has finished. So we're going to grab an interview with the Danish champion.
So you're joining me. You're joining me here with Jakob Simonsen. Again, national champion, but a massive lifetime best. How does that feel?
It means a lot. I knew it was coming. So yeah, really happy with a big PB today.
And what was the support like out on the course, obviously, for yourself, and obviously just seeing how the event grows year to year?
It's incredible. Such a star field and massive crowds out there cheering you along. Being a Dane here in Copenhagen is really special. So that just means a lot, and definitely means that you can get a big PB out there.
And you're getting even closer to that national record. Is that the next one?
I actually thought I had it today. Halfway through, we were quite fast, and then pace had dropped out, and I were alone in the wind from there on, the last 11K. So at 15, I knew it was going to be tough, but I felt good, and I thought all the way to the finish line.
Well, we're super proud of you. A personal best, and put your hands together for your national Danish half marathon champion.
Thank you very much.
Truly superb from Simonsen, and wouldn't it be great to see that national record? But you know what? After a little bit of lull in Danish distance running, this man's driving it forward, and I think just seeing him run a massive lifetime best today, it's only going to encourage others. We've seen it on many nations. You look at Norway and what Jakob's done to, or the Ingebrigtsens in general have done to distance running in Norway. They've revitalized it. And everyone now, it just moves the bar up, doesn't it? It moves the level up, and I fully expect Simonsen to kind of continue to impress over the half marathon and the marathon, and as well, in doing so, inspire others and bring others along with him for the ride before we get to a place where, we should be seeing Danish men and women run world-class times. We should be seeing them operate down in this sort of 60-minute tempo. He'll have that on his mind. And also, so Gent, I believe he was doing a little bit of event support and planning beforehand as well. I believe he sort of picked Jeff Wyman up from the airport and drove him in as well. So he's been a helping hand throughout the Copenhagen Marathon, and he's still delivered is Simonsen. So, and I believe we're going to hear from Ingebrigtsen shortly as well. I mentioned before, very fascinating in the era we live in. The minute those athletes will be crossing the line at the elite end, those top three, their shoes will go in for testing. So will they go in for, of course, doping control, those elites as well. But look at the pain etched on some of the runners out there coming into their final few 100 meters, and so many number of Norbro vests out there as well, the local running community. And I think half marathons now, and marathons in general, they're not just becoming one-off races, they're becoming event weekends, and there's so much to do and get stuck into, from shakeout runs, from after parties, from pre-race meetups as well. There's so much to do throughout the whole weekend, and you've got to make a weekend of it, haven't you? Many of these athletes would have been potentially booking the Friday off work to travel over here as well. We talk about the international appearance in Copenhagen time and time again. It's getting very, very close to 50% of the field are internationals who flock in to the city year in, year out to compete and race on the beautiful scenic streets of Copenhagen, with some beautiful, stunning architecture as well. And they'll file out into the Philip Park in there. There was a very, very busy park run Saturday morning as well to add to one of the shakeouts around that park, and it really is a luscious training facility, I must say. You've got crushed gravel, miles of it for athletes to lap up and get their threshold sessions and tempo sessions in, and it is a beautifully accommodating city for exercise, for running, for biking, for walking. You've got the rivers, the lakes. It's just truly stunning out here as we continue to see them all file in as well. Fairly spread out at this stage, and of course the numbers that we've got inside, 122 on the clock, and the numbers that we've already got inside that mark, we're going to break 90 minutes before the real peak of it comes, around about that hour 45. That is when we will see several hundred finishers cross the line every single minute, congratulating one another. And you make friends out there. You develop a respect for those to your right and left, don't you? You've shared those kilometers, and sure, you've had a good little battle down that home straight as well. So let's hear from not quite the man of the moment this time, Jakob Ingebrigtsen.
Let's have a run.
Yes, definitely.
Hi, you join me with Jakob Ingebrigtsen. Jakob, take me through the emotions of today.
As long as I expected, 21k is it's definitely too long. So I'm not hoping, definitely I'm not going to try again for a couple of years, but no, it's fun, but it's tough. So I tried to stay together with the leading group for as long as I could. So it was good.
What did it feel like in the early stages? Did you feel comfortable, or did it always feel a little bit of a push after Friday night's Diamond League win?
No, definitely too fast. I told Philip, or the first would say the first 5K was definitely fast, but I think they ran maybe a little bit slower than they said they were going to do the first couple of Ks, and then they kind of did a kick at some point. So I think from 5 to 10K was pretty fast. So I think I did a Norwegian record for 10K. So I think that's good enough for me today. I had no chance, both mentally and my legs are definitely too tired and not prepared enough to stay the whole distance today. But a lot of fun to finish off my season, and now I'm gonna. Now I don't have a choice. I'm forced to cool down and relax a little bit.
You have to go on vacation now.
Definitely. So it's a good way to force myself, because I'm a very stressful person, and I enjoy, to keep it going. But after a half marathon, you definitely have to take a couple of days to kind of cool down.
But to finish the race, to still run through, what was that like? What was the noise like of the crowd and obviously the other runners? Were you getting lots of support on the course?
Yeah, definitely. It was just amazing. I don't think I would never be able to finish, and definitely not that fast if it wasn't for the crowd. So many people along the course, and they were cheering for me and the rest of the guys. So just amazing. A great event and a great experience, even though it's extremely tough.
So you ran 63 minutes. Was that San's club record still?
That I'm not sure. It's, I just tried to be a part of the race for as long as I could, and all respect to the distance and the guys that do this for a living. This is definitely not my my thing. So not yet, at least. But it's fun to take part and to try it. It's I said yesterday it's gonna be a big challenge for myself, and of course that's motivating to kind of face these challenges, and it's good. I think it's you're going into to build up this winter. I think it's a good start.
And if anyone deserves a holiday, I think it's you now. Obviously, time with your young family as well. But could we expect you back in Copenhagen, maybe at the World Road Running Championships in 2026?
Definitely. I think maybe not for the half marathon, but for a different distance. But I mean, Copenhagen is a beautiful city. It's not too far from Norway, and Danish people is kind of brothers and sisters to my home nation. So it's all in all a great place to have my debut for the half marathon.
Well, you're always welcome back, and we're absolutely delighted to have had you in 2024. And yeah, go and put your feet up, have some rest, and we look forward to a fantastic 2025 from you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jakob. Thank you.
Just amazing to hear from Jakob Ingebrigtsen there, and very much sounded like it was make or break, wasn't it? He went with the pace for 10 kilometers, and I think as soon as he saw he had the club record banked for 10k on the road, he decided to pull aside and sort of run walk himself back in still 63:13. Many of us can only dream. And interestingly there, I was beginning to wonder whether it would be a distance that we would see him do maybe once a year. Often, when you think about those athletes in their prime over 5,000 and 10,000, they would often do a half marathon at least once or twice a year, but especially at the end of their season like that. But it sounds like he's very much going to stick to the track. But let's hear from the champion here today, Sebastian Sawi.
Sebastian, champion in Copenhagen, unbeaten this year. What was it like to kick down the world record holder and win?
It was so grateful to me today. The race was so good. I ran a good race, and I'm so happy to be the winner of Copenhagen half marathon this year. Yeah.
What was the support like out on course? Was there lots of cheers, lots of noise for you?
Yeah, it's so encouraging to me. I feel strong, and I have that morale to push because of that cheering and that kind of trying to push, try to run a good time, and I do all my best, and I feel good. I won the race, so I'm so happy. Yeah.
So last year you took the World Half Marathon title. The World Championships comes here in 2026. Will you come back to Copenhagen to win another world title?
Yeah, I will go and plan for it. Then come that year, 2026. Maybe everything goes well. I will be happy to be here again, 2026.
Well, let's make some noise if we want Sebastian back here in 2026. Congratulations, our Copenhagen Half Marathon champion for 2024.
Well, Sebastian Sarwedin, your champion and a bit of a half marathon specialist, it is fair to say. You know, sometimes you get athletes who just do relish in that distance, and he certainly won. And we're beginning to start. The questions will be coming. When will we see him, you know, really attack the marathon, take that distance seriously as well? But for now, when you're a world champion, you're a Copenhagen winner here, will look to defend that title, and I'm sure he's got a few years left of him in over the half marathon distance as well. And kind of reminds me a little bit of people like Zerndene Tedesse, who just was just so strong over the half. It really was their distance, and but yet never could quite translate that to the full marathon. Of course, he's still got a career ahead of him, but great to hear from the man of the moment here. And I spoke about that sort of 1 hour 45 mark being heavy traffic here at the finish line. Well, you can forget that, because look at the people streaming the line at 90 minutes. And now, time for another interview with the Danish champion Sarah Skue. Let's hear from her. Down with James.
I'm here with our national Danish champion, Sarah. Well done, Sarah. Another national title. What was it like out on the course for yourself?
It was very good today. I had a very good race, the first 15K, and my body felt good, and the atmosphere and the cheering and family and friends out there, it was amazing. Then I got some issues from 15K, and from there on I was just very happy to keep my position.
How many national titles is that you've got in your collection now?
Sorry?
How many titles is that?
It's 2.
2 now?
Yeah, 2 this year and 2 total. Yeah.
Brilliant. So what's next in terms of progression? Obviously marathon as well. So where do your hopes lie in 2025?
I hope to do another marathon next year. It will not be this year, but I will still do some half marathons, and I hope to run 1:10 in a fast race. And today was not about the time; it was about the national championships. But I hope to do some progression in both half and full marathon.
Well, 2 national titles, but I think many more national titles to come. Sarah Skue, well done. The Danish national half marathon champion for 2024.
There you go. She talks about running 70 minutes and eventually breaking that mark. And I mentioned earlier about Jakob Simonsen kind of driving on distance running, especially in Denmark, and looking at Sarah Skue to kind of do the same, to be honest with you. And she raises her bar, everyone else in behind will raise theirs, and before you know it, you're an absolute powerhouse of a nation. They certainly are in the events business, because Copenhagen so often sells out. Record number of finishers potentially here today. We know we had around about 27,000 starters as well. And the most of them will be crossing the line over the next 15, 20 minutes, even up to half an hour, really. Some still out on the course in what has been glorious conditions. Yes, you could say perhaps a little bit too warm towards the back end of the race here for some of these athletes. But what is so nice is they can just disperse into these green spaces and enjoy the city. And it really is going to be a festival atmosphere throughout the afternoon. We've been here year after year, and it's just a terrific buzz around Copenhagen on marathon day and on half marathon day as well, and even better, like I said, when the conditions are like this. So Sarah Skue, another Danish title for her. She mentions about doing the marathon potentially next year again. Will we see her back in Copenhagen to follow that one up as well and make it a hat-trick of titles out there. So you can see the traffic just easing a little bit, and that's due to the waves out on the start as well, just to give the runners a little bit of break, just so they got a clear run through, trying to spot their friends and family down past the National Stadium.
Battery level.
An iconic street.
Aircraft will return to
Copenhagen. It really is, and becoming famous for not only the marathon start and finish, but also the half marathons as well. But If you're just joining us, well, you missed it, good. You really did. Sebastian Sawyden, the world champion. We're getting used to seeing him kick away from the best. Jacob Kiplimo, just a few moments earlier, had to cross that curb. You can see to the right of pitcher Lesoy battling for third. In the end, almost pipping Kiplimo on the line as well. But it was all about Solway, really. And do you know what? He's a racer at heart, and he knows how to kick. He knows how to dig deep at the end of 20 kilometers in your legs, and it's different experience. You could come in here. I mean, what's proven it today? Although, of course, Kiplimo is the half marathon world record holder, but what has proven a few things? You can come in with a ferocious 5,000 meter time, but it doesn't often translate. It really doesn't. And Solway proving that the only thing that matters is your half marathon shape on the day over that distance.
Here's a question, Matt. Who's faster, Josh Kerr or Jakob Ingebrigtsen? Have you already mentioned that?
Already been having the discussion. I forget what Kerr ran. It was a few months ago, and it was on that illegal course or downhill course, whatever. But it is a discussion there.
It's the race we all want to see now.
Yeah, there we go. There's a matchup. We've had Kiplimo beat Ingebrigtsen. Neither have come out on top today, but Kerr beat Ingebrigtsen.
61.51, I think it was. So that was Josh. So he's leading the rankings for the 1500 meter runners at the half marathon. So there's the results on the screen. You can see that 58.05 winning time. Kiplimo 4 seconds adrift, and Lassu there another 5 seconds to complete the podium. But that's nice chatting to Jakob. He seemed very relaxed. But I think the fact they took everyone by surprise that he kept on going, and Jeff up on the main commentary box here as well. I don't think anyone expected him to keep on going after seeing him almost stop abruptly 3-4 times. And I've got so much respect for the fact he carried on going. Great run by Gidai there. He's gone inside 61 minutes of the Irish athlete as well, and Hay, good running by the Frenchman as well. So some nationalities that have run some fast times today, Matt, as well.
Yeah, they really have. Ellis Cross, what a big run from him, a little bit further down as well. So those two Hugger boys doing very well, him and Gidey. But yeah, you talk about the respect. I mean, he's a rock star, isn't he? And he just handles the media so well, and he gives us what we want. And I think I was in a press conference yesterday, and one of the journalists thanked Jakob for what he's actually done to the sport of distance running, and he has. I think he's made it cool as well, but he's brought a personality and a character, and look, he's still got years and years ahead of him. But when you think about what Bolt did to track and field, Jakob for me is going about it a very, very similar way.
I tell you what's really interesting, going out and feeling how hot it is getting out there. Now the race was only just started last year, so it just shows you the organisers have absolutely called it right there. It did become too warm last year to bring it early start, but it's still going to be a little bit warm for some of the masses as well, but it's going to be nowhere near the temperature that it might rise this afternoon. I'll tell you what, looking out and the feather flags that are flying, the signs that people have made, there is such an atmosphere out there, so many smiles, so many big lifetime bests, and the clock is still way inside 1 hour and 40 minutes.
And these were the final moments of Kip Kenboy's emphatic win here as well. She too just 3 seconds outside that course record. So much like Solway, just missing the event record here in Copenhagen, but she dominated really. She was the one right on the back of the pacemaker from the offset. Judy Kenboy was keying off her, going with her, but it was all about Kip Kenboy. She came in as the pre-race favourite, and often it's hard to deliver when you are the favourite. You don't often see the favourite take the spoils, but she did here today.
No, it was a very impressive bit of running, very dominant. There was a big early pack, and then it did splinter, and that time getting towards the 65-minute mark, and there it is on the screen, confirmed, and just so close to the event record, 65.08, and that lives to fight another day. But some very fast times behind Caroline Grovdal's fantastic personal best. She looked absolutely delighted in the mix zone. Obviously she'll have half an eye on that Norwegian record next time out, but I think the support that she got out on the course as well, being a Norwegian, that's something obviously Jakob talked about as well, the noise and support. He probably almost couldn't stop Matt with the amount of support being given to him on the course.
I think that's it. I think there were too much crowd out there, and he didn't want to stop either. And we should mention Vino as well. She crossed the line superb run from her, 69.30.
National finish record, yeah, fantastic bit of running. Thomas behind her, the Belgium athlete, and looks like Hopkins, the first of the British athletes across the line.
Yeah, 72.38 for Hopkins. Solly Archer a little bit further back as well, 72.59 American. Lauren White as well in there, 72.44. Shout out to Sarah Short, a little bit further down, finishing 30th. The Aussie, Oxford University student as well. What a run from her. She's had really getting amongst the elites here, 77.05. And this was the moment Sarah Scoot crossed the line as Danish champion. She spoke to you, James, about really battling that last 5K.
Yeah, she's definitely going to add to the number of national titles she's got, and I think when you see her, she won in a close battle today. It's good to see Danish distance running. There's a number of athletes coming through, and I think the event here gives it that platform, gives the ability to get support from sponsors, from clubs, and I think that's something that Sarah, was delighted with her performance today. Said she was a little bit, the time wasn't quite where she wanted it to be, but that national title, that's where her mind was on today, and she's absolutely delighted to have that title again.
Well, I think it's super important, and especially in this era, the sport has shown that it will consistently move on and on and on and on. So the only thing you'll have to show for your performances is medals and titles and championships. So yeah, you talk about winning here today, it's crucial. Milnar is second. It was close in the end, wasn't it? She wasn't too far behind, and Hyvid as well in third, crowning out your top three Danish women. Yeah, a bit of depth there as well, and there's athletes coming through. So it's something that keep an eye on this. I think the fact that the World Championships are here, athletes going to have half an eye on those qualifications for the World Road Running Championships in 2026. They want to run on home soil in a World Championship, and that will be something that is definitely top of their bucket list over the next couple of years, is making sure they get the qualifying time for that. So it's been a busy day, Matt, hasn't it? So what's your highlights from today so far? Well, are we going to see Jakob Simonsen? Actually, this was one of the highlights, because it was just emphatic to do this in front of a home crowd on a home course, and the crowd are knowledgeable. They would have known what he's going for here today. They would have known what sort of tempo he's on, and wouldn't have been special if he broke 62, but nonetheless a massive lifetime best for him. Hat-trick of Danish titles as well, so defending that national championship title, Simonsen. So that was special, and I speak about what that could mean for Danish distance running in years to come as well. But you've got to look back at it, and you've got to go purely, I think, that men's battle between Sarway and Kiplimo on the home straight. It had a bit of everything, but also just the storylines that have come out of Copenhagen. They weren't the storylines that we thought would come out of Copenhagen before we raced this morning, but different, but still fantastic.
Yeah, and there's the results of the Danish National Championships. You can see Simonsen, a big lifetime best for him, but he still needs around about 30-odd seconds for that national record. That was definitely when I spoke to him, see the twinkle in his eye of he knows what he needs to do. He was on it up until 15 kilometres, and then suffered a little bit of cramp, and I think just felt the last few kilometres. So he knows that national record is there in his sights, and those athletes behind, though, again, they have the same thoughts, where you've got 10 athletes inside 67 minutes. They're going to have eyes on that World Championships in 2026.
Absolutely. I mean, it was close for second in the end, wasn't it, between Dahl Hessen and Nihus out there, just 4 seconds separating those two, both rocking these highest colours. So a good day for them, and talk about Danish athletics and road racing. Well over 250,000 people have competed in road racing just here in Copenhagen alone this year. When you think the marathon, the Royal Run, the Copenhagen National Championships, the race week there as well, and of course the half marathon with record numbers today.
Yeah, and obviously the Sparta Athletics Club and what they do for the sport, and with their support of sponsors like Nike and so many others that play their part, and the whole city get behind it, almost the whole country get behind this event, and it's so well supported, and people travel far and wide. So good for tourism, and so good for generating a buzz around fitness and health, which is so needed. And I think the fact that it takes 57 minutes to get your first runner or your last runner across the line from the start line, as your first runner is almost crossing that finishing line, that is real strength in what is mass participation running, but also elite at the top end.
I wonder if they did it, James. I wonder if they I wonder if the race organisers were able to do it, but runners will continue to cross this line in glorious conditions and enjoy the afternoon out here. And if you have watched on and thought, I want to be a part of this, entries will be coming out in October, and do not wait around, do not sit on the fence, because it sells out awfully quick. You spoke about it selling out in just over a month last year. You can bet your life it's going to be even less than that this year too.
Yeah, and getting to Copenhagen is fairly easy as well. Loads of flights from around Europe, but lots of people travelling from around the world to be here, and obviously there's a few different countries to hop onto as well. So what has been an absolutely fantastic morning here in Copenhagen. Runners will go into the afternoon as they finish off their journey over the half marathon distance, an event that's built over the last few years and the last few days, with Jakob Ingebrigtsen towing the start line of his first ever half marathon. But it was the season pros, Sebastian Soré taking the men's title, just missing out on the event record, but then also Margaret Chelimo Kemboy, a fantastic run to get within 3 seconds also of the event record. So many great performances by our Danish athletes behind, and so many stories to be told by our masses as the day goes on. So it's been an absolute delight for myself, James Thee, with Matt Seddon next to me, that'll be bringing you the action throughout this morning, but we hope to see you again in 2025.
Whole fight. We are about to get going here at the Copenhagen Marathon. Away they go then. 21.1 kilometres ahead of them. Really, the only thing to aim for these athletes is, they're not going to do a 5,000 or 10,000 on the track. They just have to focus on the half marathon.
Nice to see you.